So a number of Nigerians will disagree with this fiscal flexibility for the oil companies, considering the joint venture operations between the NNPC and the seven oil majors that we've had so far. So if you look at that, many Nigerians believe that yes, we've gotten the stick end rather than the carrot. So why should we give more to the IOCs?
You see, I mean, if you're talking about the JVs, these JVs are mostly onshore assets. We're not talking about the offshore assets or PSCs, which are for the offshore assets here.
Yeah.
But the JV is quite right. The JVs still control the bulk of production. But don't forget, the NPC has not met its cash calls in, say, about 5-7 years. You know, so they've also had the responsibility of not just providing cash for developing the fields they're developing, but also providing cash to carry the NNPC at all.
Are the cash provisioned in the budget every year?
There's provision for cash call, but we've never fulfilled our cash calls entirely.
So the IOCs keep pumping money, they're taking their share, they're putting all the money in. So what do we get?
So we get what is left after, of course, they recover part of their cost.
Yes.
They recover part of their cost. They
Yes.
don't even recover 100% actually, but I think about under the JV it's about 97, 99 full cost recovery. You retain 1% till you sell the asset. So they recover their cost, but they also have to recover the cost of carrying NNPC at all as well. Before then, what's left after that? That's royalty taxes and then profit.
Essentially
profit
speaking, our international oil companies are the ones running our oil industry for us, technically speaking.
Yes, they are, because they still
But
control production, and they're bringing funds. They're the ones that bring the bulk of the investment capital as well.
The assets too,
exactly.
still, with them. So do you think this PIB will solve that? Or like Bismarck says, we need to unbundle, restructure NNPC, then we come back to the PIB?
Exactly. That's literally the starting point. NNPC has to be restructured. NNPC has to be fixed.
Do you think many Nigerians are more bothered about the NNPC other than the PIB?
You see, well, yes, Nigerians are definitely concerned about the NNPC actually, because everybody sees how funds, I mean, there's been various figures that have been bandied around. At some time it was $59 billion, later it was 18.5, later it was 20 billion, and so on, that has gone through the NNPC and has not come out, you know. So there's clearly a lot of discomfort with what's going on in the NNPC. So that, I think, is probably the starting point. And then we need to come to the PIB. And for me, the PIB, which is why yesterday, what happened yesterday was probably not a good task, or like he said, also disingenuous, because the most important part of it for me is the fiscal terms. The fiscal terms need to be addressed. And so when we finish with the NNPC, the first thing we probably need to address is the fiscal terms. Find a way to make the fiscal terms convenient for both ourselves and the IOCs in such a way that they can invest. Because don't forget, there's a limited pool of investment dollars. So, and there are various places you can take those investment dollars to right now. ExxonMobil is about to spud a well in Liberia. Liberia has been declared Ebola-free. About 2 years ago, there was a discovery in Liberia, 901 well, and then it's been followed by several other discoveries. And
Ivory Coast is also
Ivory Coast as well, Sierra Leone as well, Senegal as well. There are discoveries along the coast. You know, even, I mean, Guinea-Bissau could join very soon as well too. There's been some identification of some oil seeps, oil petroleum systems on the ground, but no major discovery yet. So anybody could join. So those dollars could go to West Africa. They could equally go to East Africa as well, where Mozambique is trying to bring on gas, and gas is going to head straight to Asia. They've already sold out about 75% of the gas, even though the LNG has not been constructed yet. You know, so there's a competition for those investment dollars.
So what type of incentives do these IOCs want?
I think essentially,
what do they really want?
At the moment, what we're asking for the offshore fields is about, I think, an extra, our take on the offshore to roughly about 79, 82%. From where it used to be somewhere around 61 to 69%, you know, so it's a bit of a leap.
They want about 80%.
So, no, that's what government take would be based on what the PIB is currently as it stands. Government would be taking literally about 89 to 90% of revenues from that, which makes it a little bit less attractive, because don't forget, for these IOCs, there's a hurdle rate of IRRs of about 15%, MPVs of a certain, maybe about $20-40 million or $1 billion before they can actually invest in an asset. And the PIB significantly cuts that down.
But if we meet all our obligations to these partnerships and these deals, why would Nigerian government not have 80 to 90%?
You see, it's that's a different argument. Exactly. if we can meet our cash calls, because if you go to the Middle East, you literally see the IOCs owning maybe just 1% of the field or 5% of the field, because The Middle East companies, Saudi Aramco, all the likes of those companies, they can meet their obligations. They can take on field developments and actually finish those, fund them to development, fund them to production, and take them to decommissioning. So there's very little space there for the IOCs, but we are not. So we need to make the terms attractive to attract investment.
By and large, we're basically net loser in the oil game here.
No, we're not. I believe we are winners.
Yeah, because we don't fund, we don't provide the incentives, and at the end of the day, what exactly do we bring to the table?
No, but you see, what we're doing is actually in the sense that we're creating an opportunity for there to be transfer of knowledge. So, for instance, the IOCs are moving off from the onshore fields, and we're seeing our local independents coming on, and they're doing very well. They're ramping up production on various fields. You can point to various companies. So there's a transfer of knowledge clearly. There's development of skill in that area. And over time, we'll see some local independents also go offshore as well.
Do you think this is an area we should concentrate on very quickly so that that provision that we put in the PIB and say we want 80–90%, we can justify it at the end of the day?
Exactly. I think we need to quickly look at that fiscal aspect and get it resolved in such a way that the oil companies are happy to bring their dollars back, invest in those fields, develop them. Over time, local independents go into those fields as well, understand how to run offshore installations, and then, it gives us a lot of advantage because then we have locals running the entire oil industry.
But what do you think President Buhari would do? Now, we need to wrap up this conversation in about a minute. What do you think President Buhari should do? How do you think he should proceed?
I think he's actually going to try and convene the oil companies to a meeting and try and find out, okay, what exactly would be beneficial to you that won't hurt my revenue too bad? Because don't forget, we still need revenue. We're in a time where 42% decline, in fact, between last year and this year, it's a significant shortfall. So we need to safeguard our revenue.
Corner.
So we're in a tight corner,
so
and we must acknowledge that.
And the IOC knows that.
Yes, and we must also stop deceiving ourselves and acknowledge that we are in a tight corner. So we need to make the terms attractive because it's a limited pool of investment dollars.
Very interesting. Okay, let's. Today's OPEC meeting,
exactly.
and let's wrap it up with that. Do you think Nigeria's delegation is there?
Yes.
Someone from NNPC is representing us at our meeting. So, what do you think we're bringing back from this meeting?
Well, clearly, OPEC will retain their output at 30 million barrels per day, even though they continue to produce above that. But if at all they do any decision, it will be to increase it to 30.5. That's what we expect, if at all they make a decision. But the general decision will be to retain. I think another interesting thing will be if they will be trying to impose some sort of limitations to how fast Iran can ramp up production, because currently Iran is doing roughly about 2.7. Iran wants to ramp up to 4 million barrels per day. From traders, I talked to a lot of traders, international traders, and they tell you that, look, Iran is producing a lot into storage. So
and it just boom the market.
Exactly. So they can flood the market. As soon as the curtain is lifted on the nuclear deal,
they're going to wrap it up. So do you think this prediction that $80 a barrel for 2016 could be a reality?
For 2016, maybe late 2016, yes. But for 2015, I think we're going to stay in the $50 to $65 range.
Very interesting. Okay, do have a great weekend.
Treat
your cold and be nice. Stay warm. And see you on Monday.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Dolapo Oni, Head Energy Research at EcoBank Development Corporation. When we come back, the final lap of the World Economic Forum for Africa 2015. That's a wrap today in Cape Town, South Africa. Harriet Agbe, our business news anchor, is still there in Cape Town, and we'll get to hear what the final lap looks like. We'll be back with that right after this.